And welcome back to the Young Dad Podcast, whether you're outside grilling, mowing the lawn, changing dirty diapers, or maybe, just maybe, you got a moment to sit back and relax and listen to your favorite podcast. Wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, thanks for being here and thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Jay. Today, I am joined by Layton, a husband, a father of four, entrepreneur, world traveler, and the author of Your Happiness Equation. His latest book introduces a practical 7-question framework to help people calculate their personal happiness score and take control of their well-being. Through his journey and research, Leighton has discovered key principles that make happiness measurable and achievable. And we're diving into them today. So make sure you grab a juice box, grab a snack, and let's jump into the conversation. Leighton, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, man, super excited to have you. Before we dive in to the specifics of your happiness equation, I want to ask you, the happiness guy here. Question, when was the last time you felt genuinely, deeply happy, and what was happening in that moment?
Okay. It was last night actually. So I have been getting feedback from my book because the book's been out about 3 weeks now, or almost a month. And I got a long text from a guy who I know, but I didn't know him very well. And his book is pretty deep and it hits a lot of different levels. And his response to me communicated to me that he understood and was impacted in every way that I intended while reading the book. And my wife was there on the couch with me while I got the text. And it almost brought me to tears a little bit because he shared some things that he went through and we have some commonality. I think everybody, to some degree, if you're human, you've been through stuff and there's commonality between us all and the things we've gone through. But he was sharing some of the very specific things that he went through, which mirrored some of the stuff I went through and how he pushed through it. And I always perceived him as a really happy person because that's how he presents himself. But he shared some of his story to me, and I was really blown away by some of the things that he has gone through recently. But he still shows up as a really happy person. So when I was reading that and talking to my wife, it's like I felt a real sense of happiness, but it wasn't like a exuberant, wacky happiness. It was like a really deep, it was like an emotionally moving form of happiness that I had last night. And it's still like, I'm still lingering with me, man. I can't wait to I see this guy again. I don't really see him very often, but I want to give him a hug, it's wild. But yeah, I would say that was the last time.
That's really cool. No, isn't it like weird, like as men, like we have those connections with people. It's like, oh yeah, I know this guy, or like I've known him for a really long time, and like I know him, but like at the same time, I don't really like know him, but I like know him. That's like just kind of how men are at the same time.
Yeah, man, I have some guys that I do know real well, real deep,
Yeah,
and I
yeah, yeah.
know, but then I have guys like we kind of know each other in a professional capacity, and those people, like you don't know them, like I'm happy to see them, I hope everything is okay, but we don't go really deep, and the project has helped me go deeper, and it's kind of because I'm real open in the book, I'm pretty much as open as you can be. And then when you give that out, when you put that stuff out there, people reciprocate openness, which is cool. And you get to know more about people that you didn't know. And so like this guy now, I literally can't wait. I can't wait to see him again. Like we're gonna have to get together before whenever we would normally get together, because now I want to hear more about his story, and how he's done what he's done. So yeah.
No, that's really cool. I just wanted to point that out there, but that's a cool moment, right? And being able to feel that happiness on a deeper level, not just on the surface level. Like, oh yeah, man, I'm happy for you. Like, that's cool, but to the point to where it moves you to tears almost.
Yeah.
And then it
Yeah.
lingers. It lingers for a couple days. That's something way different. That's a totally different level of happiness because you're feeling with that person, you're connecting with that person, and you're like, I don't know, there's something else there, right? Beyond just the surface.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things I talk about is like building structures in your life to that produce happiness. And it can be daunting to build something in your life that's going to produce happiness because it takes a lot of hard work, effort, sacrifices, and so on. But the rewards are really deep often, and they can last a long time. So like writing a book is hard. It was hard. It's challenging. You get rejection everywhere you go. It's just and I've been successful, but there's still a whole lot of challenges. But like having him respond to me that way is such a validation of the sacrifices that have been made. So I could have spent the last couple of years, because it took me about 4 years to write the book, sitting on my couch doing nothing. And I would be like, man, I don't really feel fulfilled in my life. Maybe I'm not super happy. Or I can take this on this project that's going to be a huge mountain to climb. It's going to be a lot of rejection. People are going to be upset that I'm asking them to do things regarding this project and whatever. But you fight through all that and you get on the other end. And I can only imagine it's just been out there like 3 weeks. And this is, first of all, it's going to exist forever online. I'm probably going to go through like the rest of my life, I hope, of people like reaching out to me and letting me know this. So it's almost like a never ending, I hope, sense of joy and happiness. And that kind of ties into like, you know, fatherhood, like one of the biggest roles in my life. It's so hard to raise children. It's such a huge, huge sacrifice. But when you get those moments of them either expressing to you how what you've done has helped them, or you see them do something that you have always wanted them to do, like naturally, like they take your lessons and your advice and then they implement it and you see it firsthand. It's like so moving, and it's like a source of happiness that never ends, for me at least. So these things are like hard to do and hard to build, and building a business would be similar. And there's many other things you can do in life that are like hard to build, but they can produce happiness in your life. And that's a lot of the stuff that we talk about. But yeah.
Well, that's really cool, and you're spot on there, right? Like, I've had a few of those moments, like, with the podcast to where someone random will reach out, and a couple times, some men have reached out and saying, "This podcast literally saved my life." I was in my car
Wow.
tonight and randomly found your podcast, and one dude said it wasn't any good at first, and then he started listening more and more, and then he found it, like, then he connected, but then that was like, that's real, like, that's honest. It's like those early it was earlier in the podcast. It was like the first 100 episodes or something, and I'm like, yeah, some of those weren't really good. Some of those were really bad, but I had been wondering because, like, that's when I was, like, checking my stats a lot more, and I'm like, "What is someone do like, someone is just binge listening because it started at like 0, started from the intro, and just was like 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. Then I was like, what the heck? Like, someone is binging this. And then lo and behold, a few days later, the guy reached out and said, I was in my car, these things have been happening. And, I was just on the brink of giving up and turning it in. And then I randomly was just searching for podcasts on YouTube or not YouTube, on Spotify. And yours popped up. And man, I just felt like I was there with you guys. I just felt like I was there talking with you guys. Felt like I was there talking. And a couple more messages beyond that, other validation, people listening and saying, "Wow, this is like a really killer show. This is really good. You talk about a lot of really good stuff. You talk about stuff no one else is talking about. Like, this is really cool." Uh, some of that, like, validation along the way too, but messages like that, the ones of people who were in a dark place and the podcast helped them in some way, shape, or form. I'm like, yeah, that's the whole reason here. That's the whole premise. I don't care how much money this ever makes. I don't care how much time it takes, because that's someone's son, that's someone's daughter, that's someone's cousin, uncle, nephew, whatever, right? That it's helping in that way. And that's more impactful than any amount of time that I can give up, because I'm giving that time back to someone else out there, right? That's taking this and they're using it for in some way, shape, or form.
That has to be like one of the highest forms of gratitude. Like no one's expressed that to me yet. I don't know if anyone ever will, but the fact that someone has done that to you is huge, man. That is awesome. To have that impact on someone's about to give up, but they come across your content. You're putting out positivity and love into the world. People are receiving it. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And I know, I mean, doing anything in life, kids, business, these different projects, it's like there's a lot of sacrifices, and I'm sure you have made a lot of sacrifices to be here, and hundreds of episodes in. A lot of people don't know, like even the smallest thing that it comes across as like not a really big deal to put out there, but there's so many things behind the scenes to make that happen. So congratulations to you. That's awesome. And I'm honored to be on here, and hopefully our conversation will impact somebody.
That's the hope, right? That's the hope for every single episode, is that it impacts just one person. I don't know who, I don't know why, like, someone runs across this, but I sincerely hope with every single episode that the one person who needs to hear it the most, like whenever it comes out for a reason, and it then just strikes someone in some kind of way, and whether they reach out or not. I love it when people do reach out and they share like, oh man, that episode really made me think differently, or they send emails or they send messages or they comment, things like that, whatever they do, however they engage. And I'm just like, wow, this is really cool to see. This is really cool because that's what this episode was intended for, you know? Or that's not what that episode was intended for, and it worked out there. But it's very cool. Like you said, it's the same with fatherhood, right? Like sometimes the impact we don't know the impact that we truly have on our kids. Like sometimes we don't know the impact on the world around us, but you know that's big picture, right? We start small. We start with changing ourselves, then we start with changing our communities, and we impact what's immediately in front of us, what's immediately around us, and that's our family. That's ourselves, that's our family, that's our kids, and we don't know how big of an impact we truly have sometimes.
Yeah, it's true. There's probably some metric out there. Maybe it doesn't exist, but maybe theoretically it does. Like for everybody who does reach out to you, I'm sure there's many people who were as impacted that don't reach out to you, and you never know it. And same thing in fatherhood. It's like for every moment that you see your kid do something that you really would be proud of them to see it. And sometimes these things are really small. And I can give you a pretty interesting quick story on this, which
Yeah,
I,
go
I
ahead.
love it. It's one of the most proud moments I've had of my children, and it's really kind of maybe a small thing. So it makes me wonder, like, when I'm not around, when they don't even know anyone's looking, and they do something that I would be immensely proud of, but I never saw it, but it happened. So we do road trips. That's like one of the things we do. And we were on a road trip, and we were up visiting my sister in Tennessee, and then we drove up to uh, further north than that. Um, it was the height of the summer, and our air condition broke in the car.
Oh no, no.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, guys, okay, first of all, we have to cut the trip short, and we got to go home because I'm not trying to get my car fixed in some random town where somebody takes advantage of me and whatever. So I was
Yeah.
like, we're just going to drive home. It's going to be hot. Just letting you know it's going to be hot and it's going to be uncomfortable, but I need you guys to just do the best you can to get through this. So they're like, okay, Dad, we're gonna, it's all good, whatever, we'll roll with it. So I drove straight. I think it was like almost 20, it couldn't have been 20 hours. It was probably 15 hours or so straight from wherever we were home. And I wanted to drive through night because it was cooler at night. So not only was it hot during the day, it was cool at night. It rained, and we had to keep the windows cracked. So there's like water coming in the car. Not a lot of water, but it was like misting in the car. It was just like a
Yeah.
really hardcore kind of experience.
And then it's
And my
humid on
kids,
top of that 'cause the
all of that,
southern humidity. Oh brother. Oh,
all of that. And my kids are not perfect at all, and I'm not perfect as a dad. So they complain all the time about all types of stuff.
oh
But in
my
this
goodness.
circumstance, they didn't complain at all, not even one time.
No
And we got
way.
home, and I was like, guys, I am so proud of you because this was uncomfortable for me, and I can pretty much deal with anything. And you guys just hung in there like champions. You didn't complain one time. So proud of you. And I told them that. They received it. They've probably forgotten it by now, but to me, I may never forget that. And that's like an example of like seeing something in real life where you see, like I've been telling them all my life, all their life, look, man, life's not fair. Things are going to happen that are out of your control, and you just have to do the best you can to get through it and whatever. And sometimes they do it, sometimes they didn't. But in this one, it was a great opportunity for them to do it and for me to see it at the same time.
That's incredible because it shows, that oh my goodness, what's the term? I can't think of the term, but what they learn, what they picked up, what they know, like, okay, this is the moment to step up. This is our time to step up and put everything together that we've ever learned and tough it out together. Dad's gonna be tough. It sucks for all of us. We're all in this together at the same time. So we can either make the best of it or we can make the worst of it. And, they showed the ultimate resilience through that. Cause that would be, ooh, I was just like, you talking about that. I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, six people in a car, no AC, windows cracked, hot during the day, still hot at night, humid. Now it's raining
Raining
and it's humid. Now it's wet. Everyone's already wet. So now we don't even know why we're wet at this point in the car. Yeah,
was
but man,
wild.
that's a big moment for the kid. And yeah, it's crazy what our kids do sometimes. Like we expect them to be one way, and we expect it to turn out to be one way, but then they just really end up surprising us
Yeah.
and
I
turning into
told a
something
friend I told a friend this, and she said that I'm not sure if this is a book or a concept or wherever she got it from, but she was like, "That's what they call a parent paycheck." It's
different.
like
Yeah,
the parent gets like paid back for all of the stuff they put into their children
that's really cool.
in a moment, and it's like a parent paycheck. Check. That's what she referred to it as, and I kind of think of it that way too.
That's really cool. I like that. Uh, Great concept there. That's a really cool concept. But I'm sure there wasn't a lot. I'm sure afterwards there was a lot of happiness, like on your end and your wife's end. Like, wow, we're I'm like really proud of these kids.
Yeah.
I'm sure as soon as you got home, everyone was like, they were begging, like, Dad, can we please shower? Please go
Oh
shower.
yeah. Yeah. It was, it was like everybody go shower, whatnot. Let's go eat whatever you want.
Anywhere. I don't
Order
even
whatever
care.
you want. I'm so proud of you guys. Let's. And a lot of times too, I watch the finances and not let things get out of control. And when we go out, they can only drink water. One, because it's healthier, and two, because you ordered $3 sodas for everybody. It just makes the bill just unnecessarily bigger than it needs to be.
Yeah,
But like when they
that's
do
a whole other
things,
meal right there.
yeah, but when they do these like really important things to me, I'm just like, guys, we're going out. We'll go wherever you want, order whatever you want. This is one of those moments that the checkbook is open. Take advantage of it.
I'm gonna reallocate some funds here and pull from here and rebudget here and
Yeah.
balance it tomorrow, enjoy it today, right? But that's so cool. So with happiness, we're talking about a lot of these happy moments, but we're talking about like parent paychecks. But overall with happiness, do you believe it can actually be measured and optimized?
I don't think it can be measured to like a scientific level to say this is objectively your level of happiness. I think you can think about your life and you can think of areas where you can improve on and you can work to improve them, but I don't think it can be like objectively measured. And the point of the equation is not to measure. We do measure. I mean, there is an equation, you can get a
Right.
score, but that is when I mentioned in the beginning, there's so many levels to this book. That is one of the most superficial levels of the book. I just want people to take the quiz and get their score and hopefully read on and find out more. The response, like that text message that I got from that guy last night, that's what the book was about. It's about these deeper things. The score and the equation is a Trojan horse. It's a way of getting people introduced to the concept with the hopes that they will go deeper. So in terms of like the actual equation and the quiz and all of that, the role that I see it having is people either just because they're curious or maybe they're struggling with their happiness and they don't know where to start. Having a non-threatening, low barrier of entry place to start is cool. So it's like, yeah, I want to be happier. I'm struggling maybe in a couple areas. Let me take this quiz and see what happens. So it's real simple. They go through the quiz, they get a score, and you can do that online and you can just start and end there. And that's really kind of not ideal. You could do it for free. There's no cost, no obligation. You don't have to put in a credit card. You don't have to give me your email address. You can just get your score. But if you just start and end there, you're really not getting into the things that are potentially can help your life. But as you go through those questions and hopefully read the book and you start thinking, okay, well, he asked about my group belonging. And I realize I don't belong to any groups and I just go to work and come home and that's it. And it's like, well, okay, maybe I should be more intentional about it. How can I do better in that area? And the book talks about ideas to optimize and to get the most that you can out of all the variables, and there's seven. But that's the idea of the equation. It's really to give people a place to start. It's to give people awareness based off of their own self-examination of parts of their life that they could do better on, and then to give them tools to help them do better. And that's the idea.
Very cool. No, I love that. So that's kind of the happiness equation, like summed up. Uh, So what kind of patterns have you noticed, like in people's responses when they're calculating their scores? So what are like some of the people's like I guess the commonalities or similarities between people? Because like you mentioned it earlier, right? Like if we're human, we're all similar in some ways, but we're also very different in a lot of ways. But really, we're really not. I agree with you there. Really, if you're human and if you're in America, yes, we have our differences in geographically. We have our differences maybe in culture and background and things like that. But overall, I would
Pretty
say
similar.
we're pretty close to that 80-20 rule to where we're 80% similar and 20% different, more or less, like
I
really
agree.
across the board. And so what are the patterns that you notice?
So the patterns I've noticed, one is just the nature of where I've been asking these questions in the places that I've gone is the very first question is, are your basic human needs being met? And pretty much everybody has said yes. So that is a good thing, but that is a pattern and that is a blessing, like, because there are a lot of places you could go within our country and definitely outside of our country where people are going to say, no, my basic human needs are not being met. So the fact that a lot of people have their basic needs met, I think that's a pattern here, and I think that's awesome. I think that another thing that I've seen is people are open to the idea that they need to exercise their gratitude. Like everyone is aware of that. Some people are more intentional about it. I think everyone I've talked to wants to be like work on their gratitude, display it more, be more active in that area in their life, but sometimes just life pulls them in different directions and they let that kind of go to the wayside for a time, which is definitely understandable. But a pattern that I've seen is like everyone kind of gravitates to the idea of, being a more gracious person, a person with more gratitude. So I've definitely seen that.
So with happiness, is it something that can be sustained or is it something that we're like always chasing?
Okay. It cannot be sustained by itself. It requires effort to maintain it. I don't like the idea of referring to it as chasing it necessarily, just as like a word, but it is something that requires effort to maintain. It's just like your lawn, you know, your relationships in life, anything that you have that is worth having requires maintenance in order to keep it in a good place. And your happiness is no different. So I'm a business guy, outside of writing and so on. So I've been around all types of business concepts and ideas and so on. And I don't know who to attribute this quote to, but one of the quotes is success is never owned, it's only rented, and the rent is due every day. And that's the concept of, you never arrive at success if you don't constantly work on maintaining what you have, building, and so on, you're going to become unsuccessful at some point because these things require maintenance. The same thing is true of happiness. It's not a destination that you arrive at and you're like, okay, well, I'm happy now and I can just not think or worry about this ever again. Happiness requires maintenance, and then happiness specifically requires vigilance because we live in a world where things happen that are part of life that are sometimes tragic. And you may be happy today and everything is great today, but you never know what's around the corner. First of all, being aware of that, being aware of the fact that these things happen and you still have an obligation to be happy. You got to work through those things. But so yeah, it's something that you can just like set it and forget it. It's something that requires maintenance and energy to maintain it. And that's not a bad thing. Like
Mhm.
the fact that you can work to build these structures, the fact that you can put effort into maintaining these structures so that you can have a life that's filled with happiness should be perceived as something being good. And the reason is because if happiness was just like something that was external, that was just imposed on some people and not on others, that would be sad. Because if you're filling the category of the people who just can't get that, then that's not good. But pretty much everybody, there's maybe a handful of exceptions, but pretty much everybody can work to build a life like this.
Yeah. But isn't it interesting though? Like a lot of times people will equate all of their happiness onto not being able to do a certain thing. right? They'll equate all their happiness and all their life purpose and everything onto like one certain thing. Like, oh, I'm never going to be happy unless I blank. I'm never going to be happy unless blank happens. I'm never going to be happy until this. I'm never going to be happy until this. Right? So they're taking that like really long-term mindset of their happiness ever, and they're missing like the happiness that's right in front of them. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? And so
Yeah.
how can we dial that back in and focus just on the happiness around us? Because yeah, a lot of things it's good to have those long-term outlooks, right? But we can't tie all of our happiness between now and whenever that thing happens, if it ever happens, and all of our, whatever else, whatever emotions you're tying to that. Could be anger, could be sadness, could be hurt, could be grief, could be so many other things, right? We're tying all these other expectations to this one thing just to be let down if it doesn't happen. So how can we bring that back into a present point of view?
Okay, so I think like as you just go through life and if you're intentional about like seeing patterns, talking to people who have experienced life, reading and so on, one of the things that you're going to notice and you're going to see pretty quickly is that these things that you want, that you think are going to make you happy, are not going to make you happy. Because once you get them, you're probably going to become more unhappy. And this is a pattern. You talk about patterns that happens, especially with like, happens to everybody, but a glaring example of it is like Olympic athletes, other athletes of other forms. They think that winning the championship, winning the gold medal, winning whatever is going to make them happy. And then they get there, and that we have this expectation of once I arrive at this place, like the sky is going to open up and the sun's going to come out and rainbows are going to like, and then you get there and you realize like, okay, you have a trophy now, you have a ring, you have a gold medal. It's an object. It doesn't do anything. You may feel and should feel like proud of your accomplishment, but it in and of itself is not going to produce anything for you. So what I would say is when you have those thoughts of I get X, then I'll be happy, you need to like challenge that right away. It's like there's a very high possibility that when you get X, you may become more unhappy. Maybe not in the moment, but shortly after, because you're probably going to get some huge dopamine dump after, getting that thing. But the next morning, after you've had the party, you're looking at a rusty trophy or dust covered trophy in your cabinet, and it's like, what was this all for? So first of all, I would challenge that idea. If that ever comes up in your listeners' minds or whoever's minds, be careful with that. Understand that it is about the journey. It's about, I would say that the happiness in a pursuit like that would come from um, the growth that you experience along the way, the relationships you develop with people along the way, the people that you help to be better in whatever capacity along the way, the fact that you now have a status, a platform, and now you can turn that status and platform into a situation where you can help other people. Those things are going to like build happiness, help your happiness. If you can win a gold medal, by all means do it. If you can win a world championship, please do it, but realize that that is not going to necessarily solve your all your problems in life. It may create additional problems, and it's not going to be a solution to your happiness because there is no solution to happiness. It's an ongoing practice of intentionality to maintain and build the structures in your life that produce happiness.
Let's transition here because I think that's the perfect the perfect point of view, right? What you were breaking down there. We have to leave that behind, and we can't put so much energy into it, right? One of my favorite books of all time, kind of here, and I promise this relate. And it can be hard to let go of that mindset, but we have to. One of my favorite books of all time is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F
I haven't read that yet,
by
but I've seen it everywhere. I guess I gotta read it.
bright orange cover.
Oh, I've seen it.
I can
Asterisk
I
for the
can
U, I
synopsis.
think.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It is everywhere. It's been around for a long, long time. I think I read this book back in 2018, 2019, many years ago, and I still talk about because I still think about it, right? Because I've applied the principles of it. So basically, the main principle of that book, and you'll want to read it. It's a very entertaining read. If you listen to it on audiobook, it's even better because the dude has like some kind of European accent. It's either like Irish or Scottish, so it's like
Oh, that's even
really
better.
aggressive. It's so good. Listen to the audiobook. 100%. Only listen to the audiobook of this one. It's not like that boring like Audible voice that's welcome to Audible.
Yeah.
You're reading chapter one. That kind of boring generic voice, but it's the actual author reading it, and he gets fired up at some points, and I'm like, whoa, this is how books should be. And it's so good. I love when the author does their own audiobook reading of it because you can see like where exactly the passion lies. Right?
Mm,
Have they ever done it before? Probably not, but they know exactly the key points they want to hit. David Goggins' book, one of his books, he co audiobooks it, so he's like
mm,
co on it, so he can like pause the book and he can break down like different stories and stuff within the book and
mm.
get deeper with it. And it's so interesting how he does that. So it's so unique in that way. But anyways, I digress. Back to the subtle art, and I'm giving an F. The biggest concept that I've taken away since reading that one is you put your F's where they belong. And that's it. If you're not getting a return on your investment, essentially, of how many Fs you're putting in, you need to pull them and you need to put them somewhere else that matters, right? You need to be putting all your Fs that you have to give into the places that matter the most to you. That could be faith, that could be family, that could be your kids, that could be your relationship, that could be your work, that could be writing a book, right? You put them in the places, right? And then you evaluate. You're constantly evaluating, like, oh man, am I putting too much in here? Am I not putting enough in here? Am I putting too much in here? Or am I not putting enough here? So it's a really cool, like, kind of perspective here that you can take on that. That's just really interesting
That's cool.
overall.
I'm gonna check
So
out that audiobook. Highly
100%,
recommended.
please, dude. It's so good. Granted, this was 2019, 2018, 2019, so I don't know if it's changed. I highly doubt it. Uh, he may have revised it, but it's so good. It is so good, so good. Uh,
That's cool.
yeah. So as a kind of a father of four here, right? Is it 2 and 2, 3 and 1? What's your kind of split up looking like?
3-1, 3 boys and a girl.
Nice. Is the girl the youngest or oldest?
She is the second oldest.
Second oldest. Okay. She falls in the middle there. It's really cool when there's like that one off that falls either at the very beginning or at the very end, but that's cool. Now I have two
What do you
girls,
have?
so I'm
2 girls?
just
Okay.
support your local girl dad here.
Okay, all right.
And they're already both up before 7 a.m. today, so
Oh, look at that.
I am. My 4-year-old's in the background here. She scared the crap out of me. Talking about fatherhood. She came into my bed last night at like 3 a.m. and I felt something like near me. And I wake up and she goes, I just want to come snuggle. And I literally
Mm.
screamed when I saw her
Oh,
because I
wow.
was not expecting. Wasn't expecting her to be there. And what I was feeling, I was like, ah. And she scared me. But yeah, she's already up, and I'm already up too, I guess. So, what role does parenting and family life play in your own happiness equation?
I mean, huge. Like, such a huge source of joy. You
And
talk about, building structures in your life that can produce happiness and, building a family, raising children, very difficult, but also very rewarding, and a lot of joy comes from it. Pain and heartache also come from it, but joy comes from it too. And it's kind of a sense of joy that I don't think I get anywhere else. And I do a lot of different things and experience happiness and joy in other areas of my life, but that is deeper, kind of like that text message I got today last night. It kind of went on a deep level, but the joy and whatnot that I get from my children and my family and my wife and whatnot is just like a very deep sense of that. So yeah, I would say that's the role that it has. And then it's just cool to go through life with people that you love and to do cool things with them. That's just fun. It's like there's so many cool things to do in America, cool things to do in the world. Like it's usually good to do a lot of that stuff with other people. So if you can do it with your family and expose them to really cool things, like why not? And I think it's awesome.
yeah, no, I 100% connect to all of that. Right? It's a different it's a different kind of happiness, right? It's something that brings you a different sense of happiness. It's something you don't feel anywhere else beyond those interactions with your family, with your kid. because it's just different. It's just different,
It is.
and it can't really be put into words, right? And you just gotta accept it. You just gotta love it, right? Because it's just so unique, and it doesn't last forever. We only have so much time with our kids in our lifetime, and we have to enjoy it. And then there's going to be more happy times down the road as they get older and become adults and things like that. But man, we have the ultimate time to discover and feel that happiness for so many years with our kids.
Yeah, for
In the
sure.
interim, is there anything that you've learned personally about happiness from being a dad that you didn't know before?
Specifically from being a dad that I didn't know before. Well, I didn't know that the possibility of hurt and pain, because it's a double-edged sword or double-sided coin, however you want to say it. Like you can reach a level of joy that you just don't know exists being a parent, and you can also reach a level of pain and heartbreak that you didn't know was possible. And I thank God I haven't personally experienced the deepest levels of that, but when your kids do something, either they are hurt or they're sick, and it's like, man, your heart just completely shatters when they're going through something like that, and you're powerless to do anything about it. That's really tough.
Hmm.
The sense of joy balances that out and even exceeds that. So that's one thing about, I think, happiness that I've kind of discovered or learned of as a parent. Yeah. And I think I don't know if this is like a happiness thing, but I guess it all kind of ties into that. It's like um, exposing your kids to new things and and helping them to expand their mind to realize that almost anything is possible. So my kids will come to me and will say, and have said, Dad, one of my son said to me, I think he was like 10 or so, Dad, I just saw a picture of a guy driving a tree through a car. Is that real? Can you really do that? And I'm like, yeah, I think like a redwood probably could drive a car through it. He's like, wow, that's pretty cool. So I was like, do you want to go see it? He's like, what do you mean? Like we can go see it? I was like, yeah, why not? Let's go see it. So that was the road trip we took that summer. My daughter asked me one time about a volcano. She's like, yeah, are like volcanoes real? I forget what the question was. I was like, yeah, I think, yeah, volcanoes, sure, that's a thing. I was like, you want to go see one? She's like, can we? I was like, yeah, let's go. And I've been at different points of my life where I've had no money basically, and times where things have been better, and everything in between. But I don't let money or the lack of it hold you back from the things that you can do. So maybe you can't go overseas and do like a really elaborate vacation or whatever, but almost regardless of where you live in America and probably in the world, there's probably something really amazing right next to you that people from all over the world come to see. Take your kids to that and do local stuff until your situation improves where you can maybe do more stuff if you're even into any of that. So there's never an excuse to not to do things if you want to do them. You just need to be creative in how you do it.
Yeah, you have to kind of find what works and make it work, and make the best of it. But there's, like you're saying here, there's always those opportunities. There's always those things around you. And it can be something as simple as a couple hour drive, maybe, right? Maybe that's all you can do is a couple hour drive, a few hours there and a couple hours back. And that's okay. Because kids don't really care about the amount of time spent there, right? They just care about the experience and they care about being there with you, right?
Yeah,
And I think a lot of
100%.
parents get way too caught up in that, right? And that makes them less happy, and it takes away from their overall happiness of those experiences because they're carrying all these expectations, right? They're carrying all this with them, and they're carrying all these everythings with them, right? And it takes away from their happiness, or it's like they're worried, or my kids gonna act out, or my kid's not gonna listen, or they're not gonna this, or they're not gonna this, or they're not gonna this. And, it's very easy for us to kind of get distracted and bogged down. It's like, oh wait, well, let's give them a chance. Let's see what happens, kind of thing. Give them a chance. Let's just give them a chance. That's all they need.
And set them up for success too. Like
Yeah.
if, maybe don't take them to the theater or to the opera. That's not going to work out well. They're going to make a ruckus, and this is maybe a lot too much to ask for them, but like go to a park, go to a festival. You know what I'm saying? They can run around, make all the noise they want. Nobody cares what they're doing. Like, find things that they can do based off of their age that, you're not going to have to, tell them to be quiet all the time. Like, let them make all the noise that they want because there are places where you can do that and it's expected and it's 100% cool. So do that. And maybe when they're older and they're maybe more mature and you want to get into some of these other things that require like good behavior and so on, then you transition into that. But just like be aware of kind of where they're at and what you're asking of them.
Yeah, no, 100%. I couldn't agree more. We got to set our kids up for success, and we want them to. If you want to have a good time, make sure your kids are set up for success to be there. If you're gonna go do something that may require a lot of sitting or standing around, plan accordingly and think about how old your kids are. Think about your kids. Think about how they are normally. Is it going to be productive for them, or are they going to be bored, or anything like that? Or make sure you have the things you need. Right, like pack your tool bag. Right, that diaper bag or that backpack isn't just for carrying clothes and baby wipes and diapers and stuff. It's also for carrying your tools. Think of it as a tool bag, and put in the tools that you will need to have a successful outing with your kids to make sure things go
Yeah.
nice and smooth.
So on our road trips, we've been to like a lot of national parks and so on. So I've kind of, I wouldn't say mastered it, but I've gotten very creative in being in line with them, like really long lines, and passing the time in like an interesting way. So what we do, one of the games we play is mental hide and seek. So we'll pick a house of someone that we all know, and they have to hide in a room in that house in their mind, and then we ask them questions about where they are, and specifically like you narrowed the room, like they're hiding in a like behind like a cabinet or something.
What the
And
heck?
yeah, and we've passed, I remember, I think it was Grand Canyon. It was one of the places out kind of west of us now. We're in Florida. And it was like a really long, I was like, man, this is a 2 hour line. Like, you talk about setting them up for success. If you're just going to be sitting there, there was no electronics. We didn't have, for whatever reason, we didn't have anything. And sometimes it's good to take a break from that stuff anyway. It's like, how am I going to keep them plugged in while we get through this line? I was like, okay, hide and go seek match. I just completely made it up just randomly, and they loved it, and it worked for that time. It's not something we've gone back to many times, but it worked in that moment, and we've probably done it a couple other times. So yeah, just be creative, be conscious of where they're at. Like, if you know that we're getting into a really long line, you're at a theme park or whatever, like plan for that, because if you don't, you're going to lose them. It's going to be a bad outing potentially, and a little planning and intentionality can help you, get through some of that.
Yeah, no, most definitely. You gotta plan, you gotta be intentional about it. From anything we've talked about so far, is there anything you want to add into the conversation here? We'll plug everything here at the end. But is there anything else that you want to add in before we jump into the dad zone here?
No, I congratulate all the dads who are dads and who are trying. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I've made most of the mistakes that could be made, but I think it's a great thing to be a father and to try. We need people in the planet to be here in order for our species to continue. So I think it's good, and I congratulate them. So that's about it.
And I love it. All right, well, let's jump into the dad zone. So this is gonna be 5 total questions that you are not prepared to answer at all. But so it's gonna be putting you on the spot here, so it's gonna be a little bit of improv here, but it's fun. I
All right.
like to bring down the podcast with some fun and lighthearted questions, just for fun. First question here, it's a layup question, it's a softball question here. Does pineapple go on pizza?
Definitely not. You
Thank you.
are not a good person if you do that. I'm
See, I
joking.
had someone I interviewed recently, they were like, "Well, they're Canadian," and it was the most Canadian answer ever. Rob,
That doesn't
you're
count.
great, dude. I know, it was the most Canadian answer ever. He's like, "Well, it can go on someone else's, but, to each their own and different taste buds." I'm like, I even said it after he answered the question. I'm like, "Dude, that is the most nicest Canadian answer I've ever heard." Like, that's the most stereotypical thing I've ever heard. But then a few episodes before that, I talked to a woman, her name's Erica. Her family actually owns a traditional multi-generational family pizza shop in Western Philadelphia. Like, her family's immigrants from Italy, and she sets the record straight. So let's just say we're on the right side of the Italians in this. So let's just say we're on the right
Okay.
side of that when it comes to pineapple not going on pizza.
She
But
said
anyways,
no.
no, the answer is no. Does
Yeah,
not.
there's no, yeah, clearly.
They don't have anything on their menu that has pineapple on it.
Good shot.
give me your worst, and this is, I want the worst piece of dad advice. It can be something you make up on the spot here, or something you've been told by someone else, or maybe a piece of advice that you gave, but the worst piece of dad advice.
The phase that they're in is the worst phase. Oh, no, it's not. The phase that they're going into is the worst phase. I hate hearing that. It drives me crazy because every phase has its challenges, of course, but it has all the amazing things too. My son's
Yeah.
going to college next year, and I look forward to doing guy trips with my son, me and him, one on one, going places. So you could look at it as, oh, he's not here and he's whatever, but first of all, you want your kids to be out in the world to fly, spread their wings and fly,
Yeah.
and that even that there's cool things about that. So the worst advice, and don't ever tell people that, is the next phase you're getting into is like the worst phase. It's like reject that anytime anybody says that to you.
Yeah, it's more like that. Oh, just wait until they're this age, or wait until they're here, or wait until they're here, kind of thing. I
Yeah,
got you here. It's like
yeah.
they all have their ups and their downs, like you're saying here. Who are 3 people, dead or alive, that you would have at a dinner party with you?
Sun Tzu, he wrote The Art of War. So a lot of wisdom in that. Who is somebody else that would you want rapid fire questions? So Jesus Christ. Love
Jesus,
to
okay, the common one.
pick his brain for a little bit. Um, and
Love it. I love it. What is your guilty pleasure food or song?
The Arms of an Angel by Sarah McLachlan.
Oh, okay.
Brutal, but I love it.
Wow, 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 wow. Okay.
Or this is or okay, either or. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Either or, either or. Awesome. And very last question here. Very last question. What is just one piece of advice, and this is going to be good advice, you would give to a young dad? Let's say he's 18 to 22 years old and he's just starting out his fatherhood journey. What is one piece of advice that you would offer to him?
You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be trying. I wouldn't even say your best because that implies a lot. You need to be trying. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. All you got to do is try. You just got to try. Well, Leighton, this has been a super fun conversation. I do just want to pull something up here as I close this out. Right here on the screen, you'll see your
Hey,
happinesseq.com happiness score. I took it. I got an 85. I have an 85 happiness score. I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that's bad. Um, but I'm assuming the higher, the better.
not
So it
necessarily. No.
no okay. So, but we didn't break that down. But this is my happiness score. This is exactly where you can find your happiness score, something we talked about. Answer those 7 easy questions. You can click right here: Instagram, Facebook, X, email. Connect further with Layton. Follow his work that he's doing. So again, that's happiness, yourhappinesseq.com. That's yourhappinesseq.com to discover your happiness score, grab the book, and follow Layton's journey. So with that, again, everyone, thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to rate, review, and share this episode with a fellow dad or parent who needs to hear it. And until next time, stay present, stay engaged, and keep striving to be the best parent you can be.